Mark, a hard-working taxi driver struggling to make ends meet, came across a distraught woman late one evening. She was in tears, holding her small child, and desperately needed a ride. Mark, feeling her pain, drove her home and refused to accept any payment, sensing she was going through a hard time. Little did he know, this small act of kindness would soon change his life in ways he couldn't have imagined. Just hours later, his phone rang with a piece of news that would leave him stunned. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. Later that night, as Mark lay in bed, he couldn't stop thinking about the woman and her child. It was rare for him to refuse payment. After all, he needed every bit of income he could get. But something about her situation just felt different. He wondered what had led her to that point, why she had been so upset, but he knew he might never find out. Just as he was drifting off to sleep, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was unusual to get a call so late, and for a moment Mark hesitated. But something urged him to answer. On the other end of the line was a voice he didn't recognize, calm but with a sense of urgency. "Are you Mark?" the taxi driver the voice asked. Confused, Mark confirmed it was him. The caller explained that he was calling on behalf of the woman he had driven home earlier that evening. His heart skipped a beat. Had something happened to her? She's safe. But there's something important we need to discuss, the man continued. She didn't want to share her story earlier, but she told us about what you did for her. It's something that will not be forgotten. Mark sat up in bed, fully awake now. His thoughts raced. What could this mean? The man explained that the woman he had helped came from a very wealthy family, but she had been estranged from them for years due to a personal tragedy. She had fallen on hard times, trying to make a life for herself without their support. Her journey had been full of hardship, and that night she had been at her breaking point. She was going through one of the toughest moments of her life, the caller said. And you, Mark, showed her kindness when she needed it most. Mark's mind spun. He had just done what he thought was right. But why was he being told all this now? Before he could ask more questions, the man paused and then dropped the unexpected news the woman's family had learned about his gesture, and they wanted to meet him. Mark's head was spinning. He didn't understand why this family wanted to meet him. After all he did was refuse payment for a ride. But something told him there was more to the story. The man on the phone gave him an address and asked if he could meet them the next day. Mark hesitated, unsure of what to expect, but in the end, curiosity got the better of him. The next morning, Mark found himself standing outside a grand house. The kind of place he had only ever seen from the outside while driving passengers through the wealthier parts of town. He had never imagined he'd be stepping through the doors of a home like this. Nervously, he rang the bell. Within moments, the door swung open, and he was greeted by an older man in a suit. The same voice from the phone. "Mark, thank you for coming," the man said with a warm smile. He introduced himself as John, a close family friend. As Mark followed him inside, he couldn't help but notice the expensive artwork on the walls, the polished floors. Everything about the house screamed luxury. They entered a large sitting room, where the woman from the night before was waiting. She looked much more composed now, her face no longer marked by the sadness that had overwhelmed her the night before. She stood up as Mark approached, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Mark, I don't know how to thank you," she began. "Last night, I was at my lowest. I didn't know how I was going to get through it. And then you came along. You didn't ask for anything in return. You just helped me. I don't know many people who would do that." Mark shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't used to receiving so much attention for something he saw as a simple act of kindness. But before he could respond, John spoke up. "There's something you need to know, Mark. This family has been through a lot. And though they're wealthy, they face their own tragedies. When you helped her last night, you did more than you realize. You reminded us that there are still good people out there. Mark listened, still unsure of where this was going. But then John dropped the news that left him speechless. John paused for a moment, as if trying to find the right words. Then he said, "The family you helped. They're not just wealthy, they're incredibly influential. They own several businesses in the city. But they've always believed in using their wealth to help others, to give back to those who show kindness without expecting anything in return." Mark was confused. He had never expected anything in return for what he did. It was just a moment of compassion. But John continued, "They've decided that your act of kindness shouldn't go unnoticed. They want to offer you a life-changing opportunity." Mark's heart raced. Life-changing? What could they possibly mean by that? He had never imagined that one small gesture could lead to something so significant. He listened carefully as John explained that the family had decided to offer him a financial gift, enough to pay off all his debts and secure his future. But it wasn't just money. They were also offering him a position in one of their businesses, a chance to have a stable job with a good income and the potential to grow. Mark was stunned. It was as if all the struggles he had faced were suddenly being lifted away. He had spent years working long hours, barely scraping by, and now, in a single moment, his entire life was being turned around. The woman stood up and approached him. "You didn't know it at the time, but that night you gave me hope. I felt like I had lost everything. But your kindness reminded me that there are still good people in the world. This is our way of saying thank you." Mark didn't know what to say. He had always believed that kindness was its own reward, but now he was being offered something far beyond anything he could have ever imagined. He realized that sometimes the smallest actions can have the biggest impact, not just on others, but on your own life as well. Mark left the meeting in disbelief, his mind still reeling from everything he had heard. He had gone from worrying about how he would pay his next bill to being offered not only financial security but a job that would change the course of his life. It all felt like a dream. But it was real, and it had all started with a simple act of kindness. As the days passed, Mark began his new job at the family's business. It was challenging at first, but he quickly learned the ropes and found himself enjoying the work. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the constant pressure of financial struggles weighing him down. He had a future to look forward to. A future that had once seemed so out of reach. But more than the money or the job, what stayed with Mark was the feeling that his kindness had made a real difference in someone's life. The woman and her family kept in touch with him, and as time went on, they became more than just business associates. They became friends. Mark found himself welcomed into a circle of people who appreciated him not just for what he had done, but for who he was. One evening, as Mark sat at home, reflecting on everything that had happened, he realized something important. Life had been hard for him, but he had never let it take away his compassion for others. And in the end, that compassion had led to opportunities he never thought possible. The ripple effect of kindness is real, and sometimes it can change your life in ways you never imagined. Mark's story was proof of that. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.